G'day viewers. I made a bodge up, so this is a pre-opener to the opener, okay? So the next clip you're going to see is the opening to this video, but I wanted to cut in and say I was just editing this film and it's going to look like everything around here is a mess. My shirt's dirty, my outside area where I do all my chemicals is all dirty. I want to assure you guys that the computer parts that I was pulling apart prior to making this video were all dusty, and I've got dust all over my t-shirt and everything. So I'm not a slob. And then when you go outside, it looks like, I mean, it's cluttered, but mess on the floor, mess on the table. I can assure you that it's not always like that. In fact, you'll see a beaker that's got all cotton balls in there where I have made messes and I've cleaned them up, and that's going to go into the AR. The mess on the floor I did during the video. Same with the mess on the table. I'm a bit clumsy, okay? So I just want to assure you guys that any mess you see was during the making of this video. And apart from the mess on my t-shirt, which I was getting dust everywhere, and it was on my hands, and I was wiping my hands on my shirt. I just wanted to point that out. So here's the opener to this video. How are you, viewers? Prospector Pete here. Just want to have a discussion about a few things, and I'm also going to teach you guys how to make your own copperas. You know, some of you guys can go and buy it if you're in America or maybe England or somewhere, but here in Australia I can't find it anywhere. I know I've seen it in shops a long time ago, but I don't think it's getting sold here anymore. And I don't want to use SMB. Not many people like using SMB anymore. It causes problems. It can even bring other metals down with it. I'll use it sometimes because when you do a refine, it's best to use two different sorts of precipitant, but I just want to get some of my own. I tried buying some iron sulfate, and even though copperas is the same as iron sulfate, it's even the same as ferrous sulfate, but the iron sulfate I got was dried and in a powdered form, and you really need the fresh crystals, which you'll see when it's done anyway. So I'm going to do that, and also just while that's happening, we'll do a few other things. But before I start, I just wanted to show you guys what I'm using. If some of you guys have pulled computers apart before, or TVs and things like that, you would have seen these type of I can't think of the name of them now. I just had it in my mind a minute ago. Transformers, okay? Now, these ones have got metal, I don't know if you can see that, metal sheets. They sort of go around the transformer and then through the middle of it. I actually started making this video last night, and I actually pulled two of these apart on film to show you how they get pulled apart. And my SD card was full, so I pulled the info off the SD card now to free it to make some more video. And I can't find the footage of making these, of pulling these apart. So I'm just going to have to show you what they look like there, and because I've already got the, hang on, I'll show you. Now, I've already got it pulled apart, and there's a whole box of these things here. Transformers, they're everywhere. They're on TVs, computers, I think they're on videos. You can get them in microwaves. Most of them have got, I think this is graphite. Most of them have got graphite in between them. And these aren't the ones you want. You want to make sure that you find some that have got the metal. And what you're left over with is two coils of good copper, which is usually bright copper wire. And you get top dollar for that at the scrapyard. So it's a good handy thing to pull them apart. I pull these apart as well sometimes, but I've been saving these up knowing I wanted to make a video. I don't think there's any more in there. I picked out two last night, two good ones. I can't see any more. So transformers are what you want. Okay, you can use, if you really have to, if you don't have any of these, you can use screws, nails, things like that, but it's not advised because they have contaminants in them. They're not exactly straight iron, they're all sorts of metals. whereas these are soft iron. Even though they're thin, you'd probably class them as metal, tin, whatever, but they're not. And this is what the experts are saying to use. So I haven't made copperas before. I'm going off the information that I've been given. So while we're on the subject, I owe Harold a big thank you. Harold's from the Gold Refiners Forum. I got the information off him how to make this copperas, and so he deserves the credit. Just like if you guys use something that you've seen on my videos, it would be nice if you mentioned my video. It's just how it goes, you know, it's common sense, courtesy and all that. Alright, so some of you may or may not know about copperas, and there's benefits to having it. It's a cleaner drop, only drops the gold, whereas SMB doesn't mean it's always going to, but it can bring other metals over with it. Also, if you use SMB, you still need to have stannous chloride to do gold testing, but if you've got the copperas, you can use the copperas crystals to actually test for gold as well. So you can kill two birds in one stone. And also, why buy something that you can make yourself for next to nothing? I've got those transformers for nothing. The only thing I'm going to be paying for is a bit of acid and a bit of gas to torch them. So all will be explained. We'll get there soon. In the meantime, I just wanted to mention that there's a lot of people have been turning up at the Gold Refiners Forum with problems that everyone makes mistakes. There's no dramas, but it's the same mistake over and over and over and over and over. So many people keep making this same mistake. So what I want to do is try and help you guys to not make the common easy mistakes. We all make them, but if it's something simple that I could show you, then hopefully a lot less people will be turning up at the forum saying, what do I do? Because there is literally post after post after post after post, and 9 times out of 10 the problem is they've had too much nitric in their solution. Now, there is a recipe most people know of, and it's in Hope's book and it's in other places, and it says 3 to 1 or 4 to 1, so it's 1 part nitric, let's say 4% hydrochloric acid. However, that book was written a long time ago and things have progressed since. Now, what we prefer to do these days, I'm not saying hoax is wrong. If you're using a large amount of gold, well, maybe that system works, but what we prefer to do these days, and especially for people who are going to use a handful of gold flakes or pins or boards or whatever, we just like to do, I think it's incremental, so you put drop by drop or mil by mil. And let's just say, for argument's sake, you had 100 mil of nitric and 300 mil of hydrochloric acid. 100 mil of nitric is a lot of nitric, and that's going to be really, really hard to get rid of. And you will not be able to drop the gold if you've got too much free nitric. But if you just put drop by drop, even a milliliter at a time, until you see all the gold flakes go, then you're not going to have too much, if any, nitric acid left over. Another thing that people are using and not having results from, and even the experts these days don't like using it, and you'll see it on most of the videos. This is why everybody goes out and buys it, and I've bought it. I've still got some. I actually bought a new bag the other day because I was getting low, but I am switching because I've seen what the experts are using is sulfamic acid. Okay, so it's a common misbelief that urea will neutralize nitric acid. It doesn't. Okay, it doesn't get rid of it, whereas sulfamic acid does. And I and so many other people that I've seen in the forum have poured bucket loads, basically, of urea into the AR and still can't drop the gold. That's because it's not getting rid of the nitric. You put a little bit of sulfamic in there and it does get rid of the nitric. So that's probably problem number 2 that I'm hoping to help people with. If you were to switch and use sulfamic instead of urea, and it's actually cheaper, believe it or not. Well, when I bought the sulfamic yesterday, it was cheaper than a bag of urea. Sulfamic is found in the tile and grout section or the cleaning section. I was at Bunnings, which is a hardware store here in Australia, and there was 3 different aisles. There was 6, 16 I think it was, and 18. Now they all had different cleaning chemicals, and he said, the bloke I asked, he said just go and try them all till you find what you want. Funny enough, the sulfamic acid wasn't in the tile and grout section, it was in the cleaning section. You just got to look at the active ingredient to find, you know, which one. I was also looking for oxalic acid and I couldn't find it. Oxalic acid is another precipitant you can use instead of using the copperas or the SMB. It's nice to know a few different things, different ways of doing stuff. And as I said in Hoke's book, it talks about using at least 2 different precipitants. So when you first drop your gold, then you want to refine it, and then you got to drop it again. You don't want to use the same precipitant, because like I said, if SMB can bring other chemicals, other metals over with it, then why would you want to do that twice? You do a second type of precipitant and you're going to ensure that you have clean gold. And it just gives people more variety. A lot of people have been asking me lately, what other ways are there to precipitate gold? So you've got 3 there to start with: SMB, oxalic acid, and copperas, which we're going to make for nothing. Now you also are going to notice that I don't have, while I'm doing it, I don't have my gloves and respirator and all that type of thing. I am just going to be super careful not to get it on me, because I've donated my respirator and chemical gloves and all that type of thing to the hospital. There's a hospital just down the road, and with the pandemic, they were screaming out for any PPE, and so I've given mine to them. If I feel like there's any risk of having acid splashed on me or whatever, I'll put a pair of, kitchen gloves that you wash up with or something like that. I'll put them on, but I'm going to be super careful. I don't plan on having any come on me. There's no reason why it should. So I don't want you all busting the gut to complain because I'm not using PPE. I normally will, and when all this craziness is over, I'll get it all again. But for now, I'm more concerned about hundreds of people's health than just my own. I don't know what to talk about. If there's any other issues people are having, mistakes that they're making, feel free to comment, and I'll try and talk about them in future videos as well. I want to help you guys, not just show you, oh look, I've got this gold like everybody else is doing. I want to show you easy ways to do things. I want to show you how to overcome problems that are people having. So you're not all flooding the forum and saying, why can't I do it, why can't I do it? Because honestly, there's hundreds and hundreds of people having the same problem, and you can imagine they're getting a little bit uptight. And I'm happy to address them, try and work them through with you. And as I've seen in my previous videos, I like to make things if I can rather than buy them. So there's an idea of making this copperas instead of buying it. It doesn't. This hobby doesn't have to cost a fortune. And I know that 999 Juicin's the same. He likes to show people how to do things cheaply. Like, he's got beakers and stuff, but he uses jars and that, because you don't have to spend a fortune to be able to do this. And that's the best thing about it. People starting out can't afford to go buying good beakers and all these expensive acids. So, all right. Well, like I said, I did make footage of pulling the transformer apart, and that was all going to be included in the video, but I don't know where it is. So we're just going to have to skip to where start treating the metal that's come out of it, and I'm sure you will understand anyway when you see it where it's come from, and we'll get into it. Okay, so I've got these into the coffee pot. There's probably a fraction under half a pot full. For now, I'll just put them in this box. There's one more in here. sit this down in the sink. There's a storm outside, so I can't do this outside. I get my back gas, and I'm just going to put some in the dish for now. And what I want to do is I want to torch these to get any oils, lacquers, anything like that off there. Right, so I'm just going to heat them up. See the things bubbling? That's all the lacquers and glue or whatever else they had on it. If I can get this up any higher. It's a different head on it. See how it's going red? We want to heat things to redness when you're removing any oils, and so when you're doing carat jewelry it's the same. When you're doing silver, you always want to heat it to redness. An important step, because otherwise you have all kinds of contaminants and muck in your system. I've got a different nozzle for this. I might swap it over, and that'll let me a lot more heat a lot quicker. Alright, so I'll just swap the head over. Okay, so I've tipped them into the sink for now, because I'm just going to give them a little bit of a wash before I actually put them in acid. I'll put some more in here. I won't show the whole lot because you get an idea, we'll just do a few. I've changed the head over so I get a lot more heat. Okay, I'll just do the rest of these, save boring you to tears, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I've heated them all up to glowing red. Now I'm just going to give them a quick rinse, and then I'll put them straight into here. You don't want to do this ahead of time, like, you know, the morning or the day before or anything like that, because what will happen is they'll oxidize and start rusting. You want them like they are, just been burnt, rinsed, and then straight into the chemicals. So I'll give them a quick rinse. Sorry, I keep looking at what I'm doing and not looking through the phone. Right, so now they're all back in the pot, and we'll go outside and put some chemicals in there. It's been raining out here and stormy, which is good because it's collected me some nice fresh rainwater. to get it from a bucket. I put all these buckets out here to catch the rain. Saves buying distilled water when you can get rainwater, huh? So what we want is 250 mils of water. You can upscale this if you want to, or downscale it. This is just a rough guide, but you want 10% sulfuric acid. So if I put 250 mils of water, I want 25 mils of acid. So I'll put this in the pot. In fact, going by that, I'm going to need a lot more. I'll do another 250 mils. The more you do, the more you make, which is, you know, obviously good, because then you'll have some put aside. I may even do 3 times the amount yet. We'll see how this goes, because I want to have a fair bit put aside. Yeah, I'll do another 250 mils. Get some more into the bucket. A little bit of rubbish floating around in the bucket, but that's alright. Shouldn't hurt. Oop, a bit over 300, that's alright. Okay, that's covered them, that's good. So 3 times the amount, so now I want 75 mils of sulfuric acid. I'll get this out of my way for now. There's my little beaker there. And my sulfuric acid. Alright, so it's hard to see where 75 mils would be on this. Come on, zoom in. I know what I'll do. I'll touch that. Too far. There, so okay, on the right hand side it'd be between the 50 and 100, I'm guessing. That should be 75 mils, thereabouts. Alright. You know you're getting old when you start making old man noises as you get up and down. So now what I want to do is put this sulfuric acid in with the water, gently. You always pour acid into water, not water into acid, because it's exothermic, so it'll have a violent eruption. You gotta be careful. If you're wondering why I don't have gloves on, before anybody wants to have a mental at me, I donated my respirator and my gloves to the hospital because of the pandemic, and I've just got to be super careful. If I knew that I was going to have any chance of having it on my hands, I'd wear some kitchen gloves or something like that, but there's no reason for it to be on my hands. I was careful. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a stir, make sure it's all mixed up, and I've got my hot plate there on heat. It's only on low. I'll turn it up just a touch. About there, about halfway. And now just let it sit and eat all that metal away and turn into copperas. Well, we'll come back to that when it's nearly done. Well, it's been half an hour and you can see the metal breaking down. Looks like thousands of little ants in there. But that's what we want. We want the metal to be being consumed and making iron sulfate. I've got some foils happening over here. There's some little bit of powder drying, well, not drying, but settling down there. It's looking good. What I've done is I've just tipped all the solution out of the pot into here so I can pick all the bits of metal out. I've already got quite a few of them there. I think it might have been a bad idea using the pot, because most of the crystals had baked hard in the bottom. Not baked hard because it was still wet in there, but stuck to the bottom of the pot. So what I've done is I've put some more water in there and hoping it'll loosen up but it's all the crystals I want, so now I've got to get a knife and scrape all that off, I imagine. Keep in mind I've never done this before, so I'm only going by what's written down in the forum. If someone can tell me some improvements that I'm doing wrong or whatever, that's fine. I'd love to hear it. So I'll put this phone in the tripod and do a little bit of scraping, not too much, can bore you to tears, but I'll get some of the crystals off. And then there's the solution I separated from it. That's got to be filtered yet, so I'm not waiting for that to cool down a little bit so I can filter it. And then I put it back in the pot, from what I understand, and heat it and heat it and heat it until it reduces and crystallizes. But these crystals here can be used, so they're like an emerald green colour. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but they've come out like a light green, which is what we need. And I can use that liquid now if I had some gold to precipitate, but I don't. So alright, we'll get back to it in a minute. Alright, I got the crystals condensed down. These are the ones that were filtered. The ones that weren't filtered, the ones that I put away before, at some stage will need to be reconstituted and filtered. But look how nice these look. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do is, I've got some gold foils filtering here, a little bit more nitric acid with gold foils in it to go in the filter. Once I finish doing that, I'm going to make a bit of AR and dissolve the gold. There's not going to be much in there. Hopefully it's just enough for a test to show you guys how this crystal works. Okay guys, the crystals are finished, and I've put 2 filters with foils into this beaker, as well as a whole pile of cotton balls. So I had a spill a few days ago, and I cleaned up as much as I could and sopped it up with cotton balls. So there could be anything in there. Could be gold powder, gold liquid, could be anything, I don't know. So now I'm just going to put some hydrochloric acid in here. That'll be plenty for now because it will reduce down. But the main thing I want to show you guys, because this seems to be a common problem, is people going by recipes, you know, 3 to 1 whatever, and it's really not a good way to go. They end up with too much nitric, then they can't drop the gold, and then they end up asking questions on forums and so on. Seriously, all you need to do, a splash like that, and if you need to do some more later, put a little bit more, and then if you need some more, put a little bit more. Better to do that than to ask, like, to put too much in. You don't need it. So I'm going to put this on a bit of heat. I might put some more hydrochloric acid in later if I need to, but there looks like there's plenty there, because all that cotton balls and that will just reduce down, and we'll see how this goes. Well, I'm pretty excited, folks, because almost time for the big reveal. So what's happening is I've got my AR there, and I've got a tiny bit more filtering, some in there, but I've got in here, and in here I've got my copperas. What I did was, even though I originally stored some of the crystals in this container, I had forgotten that I had to filter it. Now I owe a really big thank you to not only Harold for the recipe, but for Luke Kingy, who has been helping me with the rest of the procedure, like how much to use and all that kind of thing. He's been a huge help, because I've never done this and I don't know anything about it. So been following his advice. He's going to start up a YouTube channel soon. I'll definitely be subscribing. You know, he's pretty good at what he does. I think you should check him out. But anyway, he's been showing me what to do with the crystals. I've got to keep adding water to it, stirring it around, getting it to dissolve as much as I can, and then putting that water into these funnels to filter. And then what comes out the bottom is what I can use for just put in to drop the gold. And then once I've drained all this water out of here, I put some more in, and I'll just keep doing that. And then when the filters get low, I'll put some more in and then throw some more water in here, and I'll just keep going like that and getting as much as I can until pretty much I don't get any like this coloured water. Once I have this last bit of AR filtered through and tipped into there, I will be then ready to drop, and there should be enough in one of these bottles to put in there to try it. So I'm pretty excited. First time, you know how things are. For a while there I thought it wasn't going to work. Just, you know, first time jitters, I suppose, having not done it before. But it was huge help having Luke to guide me, because I was stuck. I only had so much instruction from Harold, but it's the finer details afterwards that you need, you know. And he's been pretty good. So I can't wait. And I hope this doesn't make a fool of me. I hope it works. But, well, you try new things. If they don't work, they don't work. If they do, they do. Well, I got all the faith. Everybody who I've showed the crystals to said they turned out pretty good. So we'll see. Okay, here's the big big reveal. I've finished straining all the AR. It's in there. I've taken some copperas out of the bottles. This is what's ready so far. The rest of it's still filtering. From what I understand, this is roughly the colour it should be. See that between a blue greeny colour. And it's time to see if this works. Cross your fingers, guys. I don't want to look like an idiot on camera. Here we go. So let's roll this in. Now, the waiting game. Let's see if it drops. I'll give it a bit of a stir, and we'll just come back later on and see if it's worked. I was told that the second I put that stuff in there, I'm able to test, but I just want to give it a few minutes, and we'll come back and test to see if there's any gold in solution still. Well guys, the precipitation worked, and I thought that I was filming it and getting ready for the second refine, but I didn't know that my phone had died. So I've charged it up, and so I'm doing the second refine now. You can see how nice and orange it is. It's going to be a beauty mix, this one. Is just trying to break up the filters. They're crumbling up now. That's what I like about these filters, they fall apart in AR. Coffee filters don't tend to do that too much. Look how orange it is. It's going to be nice. So I'll just cook this a little bit more to get rid of the filters. I'd say that all the gold's dissolved. Can't see any in the bottom. Yeah, the gold's all dissolved. I'll just cook it a little bit longer, let it cool down, and then I'll double its volume in water and precipitate with SMB this time, because you're supposed to use 2 different precipitants when you refine. So yeah, just let this go for a little bit longer. This one here, I don't know what this is. It's 2 necklaces that I got from a thrift store. I thought they might be gold plated. Put them in some nitric and it's gone red. I'm wondering if it's some sort of palladium or something. I've never seen that colour before. But look at that orange. I love it. You know, when gold chloroauric is yellow, that's nice, but when it's orange, that usually means it's strong. So I'll wash the spoon off and let it cook for a bit. Okay guys, I've had one of them days where everything I do is wrong. I thought that I had the video recording the whole time I was doing my second refine. I was talking about pumps and things and talking to myself basically, because the phone wasn't recording. Then when I went to do the precipitation, I thought I'll make sure it's recording this time. Then the phone went flat. So I'm sorry about that, but this has been refined twice and dropped with SMB. But there's not really much more to tell you really. The whole thing about this video was the crystals, and they've worked. Now I've done a second refine, and So if you want to give it a shot and make some crystals of your own, you saw how easy that was. I've ended up with a 2 litre bottle. I put it in bleach bottle, but it's up to about, hang on, it's up to about here, full of copperas liquid. So any questions, give me a hoy if you're not sure what to do. I'm happy to help, and thanks to the people that I've given reference to who helped me. And yeah, that'll do it. I'll just show you, since I didn't record properly, I had someone ask me about my hand priming pump. So this is it. One end goes to the funnel, the hose comes up to the pump, then the other arm's just got a bit of it's an outlet for the air to go out. And I can't do it one-handed, but you get the gist of it. You pull that handle in and out, and it pumps air out and sucks air in through the filter. Okay, being plastic, it's not going to corrode. And what I did show in the other video was, well, I thought it was a video but it wasn't, is my old one. It's cactus. It doesn't even work now. It's brass, aluminium and steel, and no matter how much you look after the outside of it, got acid fumes going through the center, and nothing stands up to acid, not in the way of metals. So these are both brake bleeding pumps, and I recommend you don't go the metal one, get the plastic one. I got it from Aldi, and I don't remember what it cost, but I think it was no more than $10. Maybe even less, maybe just a fraction, I don't know, around about $10. I would like to have an electric one. I don't know where you even get one from, so this does me fine for now. Okay guys, look, I know that everybody says please hit like and subscribe, and I know that not many people even bother hitting a like button. If you do like my videos, please do hit the button so I know, because I want to know if you guys are happy with what you're seeing. Feel free to comment, and I do desperately need subscribers. I want to get my channel up to a point where I've got X amount of viewing hours of my videos and X amount of subscribers. There has been a lot of people who have been really cool and they've subscribed since my first request. When I had 35 subscribers, now I've got 60, which is great. I'm thanking all of you for subscribing, but I'm far off the mark. I want, like some of the guys who've got hundreds, thousands of subscribers. So please help me out, and let me make more, bigger and better videos for you. Alright, catches.